Canada's Finest, 1970. Their biggest hit, American Woman, was a complete accident. During a show, the guitarist broke a string and started playing a random riff. The band joined in, and the lyrics were improvised on the spot. Pure lightning in a bottle. Duran Duran, 1993. By this point, many had written them off as an 80s relic. But the surprise, worldwide success of their mature ballad, Ordinary World, launched one of rock's great comebacks, proving they were serious artists. The engine of Led Zeppelin, John Bonham, in a rare quiet moment. His bandmates said this was the real Bonzo, a quiet family man. But after a few pints, the legendary, hell-raising character they all called the Beast would emerge. Rush backstage in '78. Despite their serious musical image, the band had a wicked sense of humor. On tour, they would secretly place bizarre items on stage, like washing machines and pink flamingos, just to see if anyone would notice. Ozzy in 1977, just before the end of his first run with Black Sabbath. His addictions were so out of control, the band once locked him in a hotel room for 2 weeks to try and force him to sober up. His firing was inevitable. Two generations of rock royalty. Steven Tyler credits seeing Ringo and the Beatles on The Ed Sullivan Show as the exact moment he knew he had to be in a band. Years later, Aerosmith would pay tribute by covering Come Together. Van Halen, On Top of the World. Their famous No Brown M&Ms contract clause wasn't a diva move, it was a clever test. If they found brown ones, they knew the promoter hadn't read the contract, and they'd double-check the stage for safety. The Golden God in his Temple. Robert Plant at Earl's Court, 1975. These legendary homecoming shows were a massive spectacle, and were among the first ever to use giant video screens to broadcast the biggest band in the world to the rafters. On the set of a '70s masterpiece, Taxi Driver. The film's haunting, iconic score was the final work of legendary composer Bernard Herrmann. He recorded the last note for the film and passed away just hours later, a dramatic end for a cinematic genius. On the set of Viva Las Vegas, 1964. The explosive on-screen chemistry between Elvis Presley and Anne Margaret wasn't just acting. The two were engaged in a passionate, year-long affair that Presley reportedly never forgot. Pink Floyd's first trip to America. It was an unmitigated disaster. The band's brilliant founder, Syd Barrett, was deep in a mental breakdown, often just staring into space on stage. The disastrous tour was the beginning of the end for him. Deep Purple exiting their private jet in 1974. They were on top of the world, living the ultimate rock star dream. But behind the scenes, creative tensions were already tearing the band apart, making this the final glorious flight for this lineup. The Master and His Disciples. Robert Plant with Ann and Nancy Wilson of Heart in '82. At the time, Plant refused to play Zeppelin songs, while Heart, often dubbed Little Zepp, proudly carried the torch of epic hard rock for a new generation. Two titans, just 2 years before they were gone. Jimi Hendrix was a passionate amateur filmmaker, and here he captures a rare, candid moment with Janis Joplin backstage. It's a haunting glimpse of two legends, preserved by one another for history. Queen in 1978, the undisputed champions of stadium rock. As they prepared to tour for the album Jazz, they threw a launch party in New Orleans so decadent, so wild, it became the undisputed stuff of rock and roll legend. A quiet moment inside the beast. While the Starship was a symbol of Zeppelin's legendary excess, John Paul Jones was the band's quiet family man. He often brought his wife and kids on tour to find a bit of normalcy amidst the chaos. A truly legendary gathering of guitar gods. This was at the ARMS benefit concert. It marked a reunion of the three greatest guitarists to come out of the Yardbirds, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, and the evening's other headliner, Eric Clapton. A sea of humanity at a Pink Floyd show. But for Roger Waters, this sight was alienating. He felt a deep disconnect from the massive stadium crowds, a feeling of isolation that would directly inspire his masterpiece, The Wall. The definitive couple of swinging London. But Marianne Faithfull was more than Mick Jagger's muse. She was an artistic collaborator. She co-wrote Sister Morphine, and her influence helped shape the poetic, world-weary sound of the Stones' greatest albums. Zeppelin on the Road in 1969. The band's legendary second album was written entirely during their chaotic first American tours. Riffs were born in hotel rooms and recorded in studios across the country, capturing their raw, live energy on tape. Joan Jett in London, just after the Runaways split. It was here she first recorded I Love Rock and Roll with members of the Sex Pistols. The song was rejected by 23 different labels before she released it herself and made it a classic. A meeting of two champions. Elton John and tennis legend Billie Jean King were dear friends. In fact, Elton wrote his #1 smash hit, Philadelphia Freedom, as a personal tribute to her and her professional tennis team, the Philadelphia Freedoms. The hardest working man in show business was also one of its smartest. By 1967, James Brown wasn't just a soul innovator. He became the first black entertainer to own his own private jet, a powerful symbol of his independence. The King and his biggest challenger. By 1962, Elvis and Ricky Nelson were both Hollywood stars. Though publicly rivals for the top of the charts, Elvis privately admitted that Ricky was one of his favorite singers and a true competitor. Angus Young, a human lightning bolt, during AC/DC's first UK tour. His famous schoolboy uniform was his sister's idea. He'd already tried a gorilla suit and a Spider-Man costume before finding the signature look that would make him an icon. Boston, 1979. This was the Clash invading America. Their US label had refused to release their debut album for 2 years, calling it too raw. By the time of this tour, it had become the biggest-selling import album of all time. The torch is passed. A young Bruce Springsteen meets his idol Bob Dylan backstage in 1975. Bruce, whose album Born to Run was exploding, was so nervous and starstruck, he was reportedly almost completely tongue-tied during the historic meeting. Jimmy Page at Madison Square Garden, 1977. The violin bow wasn't just theatrics, it was a sonic weapon. He used it to create eerie, otherworldly sounds, adding to the dark mystique that made Led Zeppelin the undisputed kings of 70s rock. the ultimate rock guitar. But before Jimmy Page, the Gibson double neck was a forgotten commercial failure from the 60s. His use of it for Stairway to Heaven single-handedly turned a flop into one of the most iconic guitars in the world.